Set and Sela supposed to come. What about Dilaka? Dilaka, yeah. Should come too.
Yep, we should be expecting it.
Streaming now. Oh.
Yep, just starting the stream now. Okay, should be good. So we should be running.
Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to give you 5 precepts. So please recite Namo Tassa 3 times to observe 5 precepts.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Panati pata viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Panatipata veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Adinna dana viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Adinna dana veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Hamesu michchāchāra viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Kame sumiccāchāra veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Musavāda viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Musavāda veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Suramiraya majjapama daṭṭhāna viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Suramiraya majjapamadaṭṭhāna veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Okay, it's time to recite stanzas to offer all the offerings. So I hope that you all offered offering to the Buddha before you took your seat. So let's pay homage to the Buddha 3 times and then recite the stanzas. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Veneration to the Buddha. Itipiso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho vinja charana sampanno sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisa dhamma sarathi Santa Deva Manussanang Buddho Bhagavati. Veneration to the Dhamma. Swakhato Bhagavata Dhammo Sandintiko Akaliko Ehi Passiko Openaiko Pachattang Veditambu Vinyohiti. Veneration to the Sangha. Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Ujupatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Nyayapatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Samichi Patipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Yadidang Chattari Purisa Yugani Atta Purisa Pungala Esa Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Ahuneyo Pahuneyo Dakhineyo Anjali Karaniyo Anuttarang Punyakitang Lokassati. Offering candles. Ganasarapadintena Deepena Tamadangsena Tiloka Deepang Sambuddhang Pujayami Tamunudang. Offering incense. Gandha sambharayuntena dhupena hang sugandhina pujaye pujaniyantang puja bhajane muttamang. Offering flowers. Vanne gandhe kunupetang etang kusuma santating पूजयामि मुनिन्दस्य श्रीपाद सरोरुहे पूजेमि बुद्धं कुसुमेन नेन पुण्येन मेतेन च होतु मुखं पुप्पं मिलायाति यथा इदं मे कायो तथा याति विनाशभावं. Offering medicinal drinks including water. Adivase tunu bante paniyang parikappitam Anukampang upadaya patiganhatu muttamang adivasi tuno bante gilana pachayang imang anukampang upadaya patiganhatu muttamang adivasi tuno bante besajjang parikappitang anukampang upadaya patiganhatu muttamang. Veneration of all the pagodas of Buddha's relics and the Bodhi tree. Vandami chetiyang sabbang sabbathani supatittitam saririka dhatu mahabodhing buddharupang sakalang sada yasya mule nisinnova sabbari vijayang akha panto sabbanyutang sattha vande tang bodhipadapang. Apologizing from the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha. Kayena vacha chittena pamadena maya katang Achyang kamami bhante bhuri panya tathagata Kayena vacha chittena pamadena maya katang Achyang kamami dhamma sandittika akalika Kayena vacha chittena pamadena maya katang Achyang kamami sangha supatipanna anuttara. Aspiration. Imina punya kammina mami bala samagamo satan samagamo hotu yavanibbana pantya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, so let's get ready for the meditation. Please keep your postures. Keep your back, head, and neck straight. Your right palm on the left palm. Close your eyes, please. So we're going to be practicing the loving kindness meditation, which we been doing the past couple months. In this loving kindness meditation, we first extend loving kindness, practice loving kindness to us, and then gradually we're going to send the same loving kindness to metta to other people. The same level of loving kindness towards others. It's no change. So first, let's send metta to us. You can contemplate on these aspects of loving kindness. May I be well, happy, and peaceful. May no harm come to me. May no difficulties come to me. May no problems come to me. May I meet with success. May I have patience, courage, and determination to meet and overcome inevitable difficulties, problems, failures in life. Next, we're going to be practicing the same loving kindness to other people, starting from our parents, family members, etc., etc. May my parents, family members, teachers, relatives, friends, all indifferent person, also all difficult persons, all living beings, be well, happy, and peaceful. May no harm come to them. May no difficulties come to them. May no problems come to them. May they all meet with success. May they all have patience, courage, determination to meet and overcome inevitable problems, difficulties, failures in life. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Share all the good karmas with the departed relatives and the deities. Idam me ñāti nang hotu sukita huntu ñāteyo. Idam me ñāti nang hotu sukita huntu ñāteyo. Idam me ñāti nang hotu sukita huntu ñāteyo. Ittavata ca ammehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ittavata ca ammehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ittavata ca ammehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Okay, now it's time to venerate the monks. Ovini, you can get started.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Silavantam gunavantam punyaketam anuttaran Dullavena mayaladam buddha buddhang namamaham. Silavantam gunavantam punyaketam anuttaran Dullavena mayaladam buddha buddhang namamaham. Silavantam gunavantam punyaketam anuttaran Dullavena mayaladam buddha buddhang namamaham.
Okay, now let's venerate our parents. So please approach your parents now. First, mother. Dasa mahasayak duk vidha ma hedu amme le kiri karapawa ma dedi kala amme නිවසේ බුදුන් යැයි බුදු හිමි දෙසු අම්මේ ඔබ පායුග වඳිමි මා ආදර අම්මේ දස මාසේ උරේ කත්වා ඕසේසි බුන්දි කාරණං ආයුදීගං වස්ස සතං මාතු පාදං නමාමහං. Father, බුද්ධිකාරෝ අලිංගිත්වා චුම්බිත්වා පිය පුත්තකං රාජමච්ඡං සුපතින්ඨං පීතුපාදං නමාමහං. නැති බැරි කමක් මට නොදැනෙන නියායෙනි දුක් කරදර මැදින් මා හැදු දයාවෙනි හොඳ දරුවෙකු වෙන්න මට දුන් ඔවාමිනි ඔබ පායුග වඳිමි මා ආදර තියාණෙනි. Okay, please come back to your seats. And then we're going to sing the Dhamma school song, please rise. Okay. Now we're going to bless all of you. Abhivadana silisse nichang vadha pachayino chattaro dhamma vadhanti ayuvanno sukham balang ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevache ato nibbana sampatti iminati saminchatu. Okay, Mike, it's over to you.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I see we're missing Naomi, which I guess is all right. Since we're only doing review today with the senior class, I'm going to give everybody the materials that would be what it would be a good idea to review. I see we also have Delat and Delon here, so presumably we should have Selah for a breakout room with them.
Yeah.
Do you know what's happened to your sister?
Joining soon.
Okay. All right.
So.
I will create a breakout room in a minute then when she shows up.
I think they should also have an exam, right? Delot and
Yes, that's. I suppose this is really up to you and Selah to decide and discuss. Because I don't know what they've talked about. It wouldn't be very smart for me to create an exam for the two of them. I think that probably this is a discussion we had with Selah. I agree, though, we could do that. But I don't know what that would look like.
Selah is not present here, right?
Not yet. She should be here shortly, though, right?
Yeah, she should be joining soon.
Okay. Let's start by giving everybody the list of this is what we did this year. This is the overview of what we have done. In case you haven't seen it, I'm putting it in the chat. I don't know if that came across very well. I think it's okay. So that's a list of the dates that we had classes and all the pages that we went over. I think we pretty much covered all the page numbers that are in here. So if we may even have done a little bit extra, but I'm not going to, if we manage to read ahead, I'm not going to put any of that on the exam. Okay, Selah is here. All right, let's make a breakout room for the junior class. Let's do one breakout room. Let's put, okay. Okay, that should work. So, all right, we have starting on the 13th of September. Everybody can see that in the chat. You might want to copy it down because I don't know if the chat gets saved with the recording. It might, but just in case, try and copy this somewhere for yourselves. It's going to be your basically your review or your study sheet. All the questions will have answers that will be in those pages listed. So the textbook is enormous. We skip tons of it because it just wasn't interesting or relevant. Like I think we skip after we talk about the cosmos and the Cakkavada, we skip like 60 pages, I think. And we do that kind of thing a lot. So this way it'll save you time pouring through sections of the book that aren't relevant. So let's see here. We can open up the book if you all want. You can start looking at these sections here. The section on starting on page 35 on the cosmos, I think is not terribly important. You can give it a quick read, but it's very short, so there's not going to be a lot of questions coming from that. Probably more important, you will see the Cakkavada, the section on the Cakkavada that we did on the 27th of September. Because it's quite long and there are lots of interesting details. This is the kind of question that will come up is like, did you read or can you look up and you find the details? Things like if there are lists of things that will be good fodder for a question, or specific interesting trivia factoids, like that things that have clear, detailed, specific facts, and not just opinions or broad statements. But when we talk about the Cakkavada section, this will probably be sort of important because there's going to be lots of statements of fact that I can test you on with short answers. I can say, yep, you got that, or no, you didn't. Details about the height of things, width of things, number of things, this stuff, there's a lot of it in here. So I would make sure to be fairly familiar with that passage. Again, the exam's open book, so you don't have to memorize it all, but just know what section it is. It'll save you some time. And maybe just get the names of important features and things straight in your mind. On the 11th of October, we also talked about the kappa and the sense of time. This is probably the sections on the kappa are pretty important, I think, from 112, 111, 112, and then the other section from the 25th, 115 to 118. I would pay close attention to that because there are going to be lots of interesting little factoids and details about the perspective on the scale of time and this kind of thing. And we've had some interesting conversations about that, observations about how time works in different realms, right? How time works for devas and brahmas versus beings in the sense desire realm. So things like that we've talked about, and we had interesting conversations because there are lots of specific details in there in the commentary and in the mythology, which can also lead to contradictions and be very, intriguing. So I would pay attention to that, look for interesting factoids about that there. There is one particular sutta that the author likes to refer to a lot, and it's mentioned in, I think, a couple of times in this section on the kappa. So I would get familiar with this sutta, or at least the places where he mentions it. It's the Aganya Sutta. The author really likes this of the textbook. It's one of his favorites, and he cites it a lot. Not just in the book, but in person. When you talk to him, he loves to quote this. So I would get familiar with that sutta, and also or the places where it's mentioned in this passage from October when we talked about the cosmos and time. That's probably a good thing to be familiar with. Are there any questions so far? Are we good? Feel free to chime in as we're going along, or ask questions, anything like that. In November, we started talking about humans. Actually, we spent like a month and a half talking about humans, which is probably smart because we are humans, and most of the beings we interact with will be humans. We talked a bit about, there's a short introduction on the human realm, and then we talked about gender. I think we'll probably see one or two questions from that. I've been looking at all these sections. I see a couple of questions I think that I might pull from there, so pay attention to that section. Caste and kingship, I might also ask like one question from each of those. The caste section is fairly long, but I'm not going to, it's sort of disproportionately long. I don't think we're going to talk about all these little details here. It starts on page 162. And there is a lot of interesting, 163. And there's a lot of stuff about the kind of pre-Buddhist mythology of how the castes arose and what non-Buddhist sects believed about castes at the time. But I wouldn't worry too much about that. It's more important. I think we're going to spend more time talking about the Buddhist view of caste, or maybe just factual statements about what castes are and that kind of thing. So it's going to be pretty simple. We're not going to go into tremendous detail. Again, for this section, the author references the Aganya Sutta a few times, or at least once. So it might be helpful to, again, familiarize yourself with that one. Let's see here. Kingship. Yeah, in the section on humans, and I think also with Petas, there are a few stories that involve specifically named people, like companions of the Buddha's chief disciples and things like that. Some of those stories I might draw questions from, especially if there are interesting little factoids in there, like so-and-so was reborn X number of times because of something they did or whatever. These might be easy questions to ask. So, maybe just like highlight, oh, here's a story, about a person that has an interesting factoid in it. I think there's at least one in the section on, I think there might be one in the section on caste. Kingship, maybe. I think there is a little one in kingship as well. Yeah, the kingship section, there are a couple of lists in the kingship section. They starts on page 178. So the author discusses the kind of the philosophy of kingship and so on a little bit, which is hard to ask clear questions about that are markable. So I'm probably not going to do too much of that. But there are some lists about the duties of kings, punishments of things like that they do. So probably I will ask a question or two about that. So be familiar with lists. I'm going to like quizzing lists. Okay, and that would be the section on humans. So we'll probably end up with perhaps 3 or 4 questions on the human realm, which is probably proportionate because we did like 3 weeks on humans. All good so far? All right. If you are overwhelmed or want me to slow down or want to talk about any of these things in more detail, let me know. Oh yes, we do have also the section on Buddhas, Pacceka Buddhas and Sammasambuddhas. I will probably ask a couple of questions from this. They're technically in the human category because this is the only place, according to traditional Buddhist mythology, at least Theravada mythology, that Buddhas emerge from. They are supposedly only appear in the human realm. Mahayanikas don't agree with this. They believe that I think there can be that Buddhas can arise in Deva realms as well. I think, if I understand correctly. But for this, we're pretending that we're following this one particular view, this one school's perspective. So yeah, I'll probably ask a couple of questions from there. Interesting questions might be things that make Buddhas distinctive, or what was the particular view of Buddhists about enlightenment and an enlightened being that was different from those around them at the time. I think this kind of question is discussed in the section starting on page 223. I think you have Pacceka Buddhas. Does anybody remember off the top of your head what's the difference between a Pacceka Buddha and a Sammasambuddha?
I think for Pacceka Buddhas, they weren't allowed, like they weren't able to teach to other people, while Buddhas can.
Yeah, that's right. Essentially, they haven't accumulated the right amount of merit or the right kind of merit, or they haven't perfected the aspects of their character necessary to teach the Dhamma effectively. So that's the main difference between a Pacceka Buddha and a Sammasambuddha. But both are both awaken themselves in the sense that they don't have, there is no Buddhism around when they achieve enlightenment. So they don't have a teacher or a framework or an institution to support their practice. They figure it out themselves. And the difference essentially is that a Sammasambuddha creates those frameworks and institutions for others to follow, whereas a Pacceka Buddha doesn't. So we might ask some questions about the Pacceka Buddhas, but it will probably be no more than one question on that, because there's very little actually discussion of them in the textbook or in the canon even. They're very sparsely referenced. Nobody likes to talk about Pacceka Buddhas, but I guess it's okay because they don't like to talk about themselves very much at it. The Sammasambuddha will probably have a couple of questions on this. There are some interesting questions about the way that early Buddhism views the enlightened Sammasambuddha and mistaken views that people have about this, about the enlightenment of the Buddha. So I think those will probably make for interesting questions. There's also a list on page, auspiciously on page 227. 227 is, of course, the number of Vinaya rules for monks in Theravada. So starting on that page, 227, there's a good list there. I might ask you something about that. And there are some numbers as well on the next page, some like trivia factoids about the framework, the number of time, like the amount of time it takes to build up merit and so on to achieve these goals. And we also have a list on page 228 that describes some of the I guess features of a bodhisattva's life, the things that all bodhisattvas will have in common. So we may also go into that as well. I may ask a question about that. And I think that's probably about covers the section on Buddhas, because because actually it's not, we don't discuss the Buddha as much. It's just like Nibbana. This book doesn't discuss Nibbana very much. It doesn't discuss Buddhas that much because it's really talking mostly about samsara. Okay, so you might have a couple of questions basically on Sammasambuddhas, and that section there's a couple of lists. I would pay attention to those. Okay, so far so good. Any questions so far? Comments? All good? Okay. So the next thing we covered, I think we spent what, a week or two? It wasn't very long. We talked about animals. Yeah, we just talked about it for one lesson. So I won't probably draw a lot. It's a long section, and we didn't read the whole thing. We kind of picked our way through it, but we went through 233 to 241 on animals. There's not so much in terms of, there's a lot of description about what it's like to be an animal. That makes for difficult questions. Like it's hard to make a good, fair question on these. So I probably won't ask a lot of questions on the animal section. There will be perhaps one question, maybe, and no more than that. It will be, there aren't any like obvious lists or anything like that, but check for objective factoids like the dwelling places of various animals, or perhaps exceptional, like noteworthy exceptions to the animal experience, the way they experience the world, and are there any, is there any hope, or perhaps questions about the destiny of animals after death. What will be there? What ways are there to escape the animal realm, or what things can animals do to fall lower in the hierarchy of samsara? These might be questions that might come up. Okay. In the new year, we started by talking about petas. This was the spooky section. It's too bad. We should have done this for Halloween, but I guess that was probably my mistake. We did it in the wrong order. The petas start, let's see, page, where was it? Lost my notes. Petas are on page 289. Petas had a lot of fun stuff. There were lots of good little stories and things. So I may ask about, names of people or specific petas who appear in stories. I may ask, I may give some kind of vague description of a story or allude to it and ask you to tell me more about it. There is, I might ask you, I don't know if I'll ask a lot of, there's not a lot of lists of things because the petas are not very uniform. They're all quite different and diverse. I might ask perhaps about perhaps questions about their size or their lifespan and those kinds of things. But probably I'm leaning toward looking at the stories for this. So pay attention to stories that involve petas. The transference of merit section on page 299, I don't think I'm going to lean too heavily on that, so don't worry about it a lot. It was just giving some context for the ceremonies and things that we do as Theravadins. We do it, and most Theravadin cultures cover these sort of transference of merit ceremonies, and there's some kind of connection to the petas. 315, we began the discussion of niraya. I think we spent a fair amount of time on niraya, just like we did with the human realm. I think we had, what, 2 weeks? Yeah, we talked about niraya for a couple of weeks. So there are going to be lots of names of different kinds and descriptions of different kinds of hells in here, I believe. So familiarizing yourself with the sort of different the names of different hells and the way that they like I think the dimensions of them, what the experience is like for beings in those hells. There are also all kinds of really terribly nasty punishments and experiences that beings have in these places. So I would pay attention to those, what is it like, those kind of experiences that beings go through while they're there. Or perhaps the deeds that one can commit to that send one to these various hells. So those are kinds of questions that are easy to grade. So they're probably the questions I'll be asking you. So what the different hells are called, what the experience is like in them, and what would send a being there. These are probably things to focus on. Let's see here. we have some names of individuals who end up in Niraya, but I'm not going to worry about that too much. So don't sweat that. We have discussion of lifespan of beings in Niraya. I might ask a question or two about that because it's got, it's easy to grade. It's easy to see if you've read the right section or not. Okay. And I think that would probably cover it. There are a couple of specific nirayas that we spent some time on the 31st of January, the Mahaniraya and Aviti. I would reread those sections. They're only a couple of pages long. 335, I think, is Mahaniraya, and then 338 is Aviti. So those are, I will probably, in terms of the specific Niraya realms, I will probably favor these because we spent the most time on them. So come back to these and look at the different, I think there's some specific places mentioned in these specific Niraya realms. Familiarize yourself with these, with the kind of geography of them. There are like notable places or landmarks in these realms. So those are kind of, fun is not the right word, but colorful descriptions. And so I think that would probably be a good thing to familiarize yourself with. Okay. So far, so good. All right. Asuras. We spent one lesson on Asuras on Valentine's Day. It starts on page 354. The Asuras are kind of fun because they have a very unusual place in the mythology. They have, I think I will probably do no more than one question on them though, because they're not that, there's not a lot of really good gradable questions that arise from this section. Maybe pay attention to things like their lifespan, their dwelling place, and how it compares to the realm of the Devas, because there is some interesting discussion in the textbook about the kind of realm that they live in and how it's different from the Devas. Because I think the story about how they ended up there and how they relate to the Devas interpersonally is kind of interesting. So I might ask a question about that. Okay. Asurinda, no, we're not going to worry about that. We're not going to worry about the Asura lords and so on. So yeah, only to 359. I won't ask any questions about Asuras past 359. We did a short section at the end of February on miscellaneous beings. What is page 369? Okay, the start of it is page 369, but we kind of, it's a long section because it obviously is trying to catch all the rest of the beings and stuff. We only talked about yakas, but there are more. But don't worry about anything other than yakas because we just didn't cover it. We couldn't get around to it. So the yakas start on page 370. And I think we had some good stories here, just like with the Petas. I think we had some good stories about specific yakas who were named. And we had, so I would, yes, yeah, there are some yakas in here with specific names. So I'd pay attention to them. And otherwise, I think yakas are kind of unusual, so they don't have a lot of like, there's diversity among them, so there's not a lot of good like key defining trivia facts. So yeah, I would pay attention to the narratives, the stories, and names of specific individuals who pop up. That's probably the best way to prepare for the section on yakas. On March 14th, we started talking about devas. And that section started on page 407.
Mike?
Yeah.
I think you forgot to add the last bit to the chat.
Oh.
I forgot to add like, stops it.
Oh yeah. Okay. Here, let me copy the rest. You definitely want all of this. Thank you for pointing that out. It only goes as far as February for some reason in the chat. So here we go. Let's see, did that catch the rest? It looks like it did. March 14th, Devas, page 407. Yes, okay, good. All right, thank you for pointing that out. It only took half, for some reason, half of what I copied. Maybe there's like a limit to the amount of text you can put in the chat. So Devas, we spent a fair amount of time on Devas, I think. We spent, what was it, 3 weeks on them? That's a lot. So there's a lot to talk about here. There's also a lot of good quizable questions buried in here. So I'll probably ask at least 3 questions on this, maybe more. There's lots of good lists of heavens, lists of different kinds of devas, discussion of lifespans, and things like that that will make fodder for really good questions. We have discussed specific kinds of subcategories of devas, like devas. On March 28th, we talked about that. The forest, kind of like forest sprites. And I think there's at least one good story in here with these forest sprites. So I would probably read the stories, the little stories that show up in here. Some of them are like, they're usually parables about like good behavior or sort of like cleverness or wisdom. I'll probably try and derive questions from that kind of passage, rather than like lists or factoids, at least when it comes to Bhumadevas, because there's not a really hard and fast rule about like layers of experience or lifespans or numbers. So it'll probably be, I will base all the questions in this section off of interesting stories. And so I'll probably tell you a little snippet or an allusion to a story, and then I'll ask you to tell me more about that story, some more details. Okay, so that's the Bhumadevas. And the third lesson, the third week that we covered for Devas was we talked about Tavatimsa, the realm of the 33. This is, again, analogous to Mount Olympus or Valhalla, or I guess Asgard, not Valhalla, like Asgard or something like that. I think this has a few specific places within it that are mentioned, just like when we talked about the named hell realms. There are some interesting specifically named places. There is a garden in there that is named, and things like that, starting on page 443, I think. So there's some discussion of these specifically named places within Tavatimsa that will make for interesting questions. So I would reread those, look for the names of groves and pools and specific halls or places that you would find there, the landmarks of Tavatimsa. I think that would be the best way to review for this. I might also ask questions about specific devas who live in Tavatimsa, because they're usually the devas in Tavatimsa, that's pretty much as high as you go, and still have devas who are particularly relevant to the human experience. So they actually have some kind of interaction with humans in mythology and things like that. So the names of those devas will be common in lore and stories. So I might ask, about some of the names of them. So you might just want to look through and try and pick out the names of a few of the devas who live there. If you can't get them all, don't worry about it. I think if I'm asking you for questions like that, it'll usually be like asking you to find a few or name some instead of like an exhaustive list. If I'm quizzing you about lists, I'm probably not going to go list every single thing that you can find, because it's just going to take too long. So try and pick out as many as you can, and just to have in your pocket in case I ask a question like that. Okay, good. Yeah, there's a few. Okay, good. A few names in there. All right. So far, so good. That takes us to the 25th of April. Our review should now be catching up on sections that are familiar and fresh in our minds. On the on the 25th of April, we started talking about Brahmas. So there are two kinds of Brahmas. There are two broad categories of Brahmas. What are they? Anybody remember?
The ones on the form plane, like the physical ones, and the ones that are on the formless plane, the thought-based ones.
Yeah, exactly. So we have Brahmas with form and Brahmas without form. And that's the two other realms in the threefold world, the Tiloka. That's the Brahmas with form and the Brahmas without form. And they're in themselves a tiny minority among all beings. So it's kind of odd to give them 2/3 of the worlds in Tiloka, but that's the way that it's traditionally structured. So we talk about the state of being in these realms, starting on page 605. So we skipped like 150 pages or something like this about all these, because the author just goes into deep discussion on all the different heavenly realms and things like that, which is fantastic, but we didn't have time to go through all of it. So we talk about Brahmas. I'm starting at page 605. I think we don't have too many good questions that will obviously come out of this. So I might ask one question about it, perhaps about the things that you can do that lead to such a destination, or the experience of the Brahmas, like while they're there. What are some odd features that distinguish it, being a Brahma in the form realm, for example, versus being a Deva in the sense desire realm? I might ask a question of something like this, features of their experience that are different. So I'd keep your eye out for that. What distinguishes them from Devas? And how do you get there? Those are good questions to look through and try and get familiar with. The pre-Buddhist conceptions of Brahma. I think did we skip this? Or did we actually cover it? I think we did cover it. Tell me if you don't remember covering this. Oh. Okay. Ovini, you're back. You're good? Okay. We pre-Buddhist conceptions of Brahma, I remember going through it very quickly at best. So I think I will probably not make a question on this. It's not terribly important to our course anyway. It's just kind of background information. So don't worry too much about this pre-Buddhist conceptions of Brahma section. The formless realms. Yes. Okay. So the formless realms, we talk about what it's like to be. I might ask one question, perhaps, about this. It only is like 3 pages. That 3 individual pages there. So we'll just read those pages, and I think you'll be fine. For the formless Brahmas, I will probably ask again something similar with the Brahmas of form, about their distinguishing characteristics of them. It's very, very hard to ask interesting trivia questions about a state of existence that is so abstract that almost nothing can be said of it. So it's not going to be terribly important to the. There we go. Yeah, it's not going to be terribly important to the test. Maybe one question. Okay. All right. And that covers everything we've done so far in a very quick overview. Does anybody have any comments, questions, concerns, anything you're worried about, and you want to go over again specifically? Nope. Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that. In that case, we will take a break for about 10 minutes. So we'll come back at 3:05. We'll do a short meditation, and we'll do a discussion. It'll probably be maybe the last discussion or chat that we get to have this year. So I don't know if you have anything left over that you want to ask about anything Buddhism adjacent, or you want to chat about or share, then will be the time. Okay, cool. So see everyone back here in 10 minutes.
See you in 10.
Okay, everybody, let me know when you're back.
Mike, we're back.
Okay, good.
I'm back as well.
Great. Okay, well then I guess wait another minute for Deepika, and then we'll do, let's see. Okay, 15 minutes. Yeah, we'll aim for about 15 minutes of meditation. Okay, let's get started. Find a posture that's comfortable to you. Make sure that you're stable enough that you don't fall over or slouch or get sore. You can close your eyes or keep them open. Whichever, for starters, whichever one is easier for you to do. And you can change later to one that's more difficult for a challenge. Find whatever theme of meditation is most comfortable to you. And try to maximize both alertness and relaxation at the same time. Normally, we do the one or the other. Try to do both. Okay. Oh, good job, everyone, for making it this far. You made it through the year. You did it. Not just in the Dhamma school, but I mean, you also made it through the pandemic. You've been doing school through this whole unprecedented disaster. Good for all of you for being persistent and patient and bearing with it. So, does anybody have anything you want to chat about? I think we have about 25 minutes or so. So yeah, let's just chat about anything Buddhism adjacent. It could just be anything about what's going on in the world, in your life, in your meditation practice, or anything we've covered in the class, or anything we didn't cover in the class.
It's kind of hard to think. It's like really hot outside.
It is very hot.
It's burning. It's so hard to think.
It's hot outside, and so it's hot inside too. I feel like this is a more common problem in I guess this would have been a common problem for the Buddha and his disciples at his time. It's very hot in India all the time, and it's part of the reason why they could live. We don't see very much anymore. I think maybe a little bit in Thailand, but even that's less so than it used to be. But yeah, a lot of monks it was so hot you didn't need a house. Basically, you could just sleep under a tree, and you maybe didn't even need to do that. You could just sleep out in the open. And so it was probably, it was probably a lot nicer to sleep outside with a breeze than inside, locked in behind walls. So I can totally understand what the appeal of that. Sleeping outdoors would be nicer now. Are any of you going to do any outdoor activities this summer? I know campsites booked up across the province very quickly. Is anybody going camping or doing any outdoor activities to beat the heat?
I heard that Calypso's opening on, I think, July 4th.
Is it that early? Oh, okay. I heard it was opening sometime in July, but I didn't know when. I'll have to book a spot there. I imagine, you can book tickets already and it's probably all full anyway, right?
We might go, but only after all of our family has gotten the vaccine. Can't risk it until then.
Right. Yes, of course. That's a good thing to do. Wait till everybody's got at least one dose. Now you are all eligible for the vaccine now, right? Because at least one of them has been approved for at least over 12, I think. So have you all you all scheduled your appointments and everything? Does anybody have it yet?
I don't have it yet, but I'm going to get it in 2 days.
Great. Okay. Well, congratulations. That's excellent.
I can't yet because I'm still 11, so I have to wait a few days until my birthday.
Oh, when's your birthday?
June 16th.
Oh, well, it's coming right up then. Oh, well, happy early birthday. Will we see you again before your birthday, or will you be 12 the next time we see you? Let's see. The 16th? Oh, so the next time when the final exam comes, you'll be 12.
Okay.
Okay. Good. Well, that's great to hear that you will also be able to get it soon. And then you can all go to the water park, I guess. That's great to hear, yeah. Because obviously that's a splash around in some water. It's a perfect way to beat the heat. I could go for some of that right now. There used to also be, I've never been to one of these, and I'm from British Columbia. These are not a popular thing there. I have never seen one, but splash pads. I've heard people talk about splash pads. Are they like little parks that are water parks? Is that like kids go play? It's like a water playground. Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's basically like a water park, but there aren't like slides or anything. It's just like
fountains and stuff.
Fountains.
Yeah.
It's mainly for little kids, I guess.
It's like COVID hotspots now.
Yeah, I would imagine those would not be open at this point.
I think they're open, but families, there's so many, the ones that right over there. There's so many people there.
Okay. Yep. So probably something to steer clear of for a while, especially because the kids who are probably playing there the most are too young to be vaccinated, and so they're more likely to transmit it to each other. So that makes sense. Still want to avoid that. But yeah, a lot of things are supposed to be opening up fairly soon. I didn't know it was that soon. I thought it was maybe August or something that we would start to see things. But this is good to see. People will be able to do things together again optimistic that it will be a good summer for everybody. So that's great. And you don't have to have another summer and sit twiddling your thumbs or anything like that. Does anybody have anything particular they're looking forward to besides going to a water park? Is there anything else you're planning on doing, looking forward to over the summer?
I'm pretty sure that I'm going camping in August. So that's cool.
August long weekend, kind of. I know that's a popular time to go camping.
I'm
Is
not
that the
sure.
idea?
It's like in the beginning of August. I'm not sure if it's a long weekend or not, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's that would be good. I did not. I used to go camping every summer when I was young, but I don't do it anymore. Mostly because my girlfriend doesn't like camping. She hates getting dirty, and she doesn't like sleeping in the ground on the ground in a sleeping bag or anything like that. So, no camping for me this summer. What might we do? I don't think we have any particular plans. I think we're just gonna maybe there will be movie theaters, I think, by the end of the summer. So maybe we'll go see movies. That's maybe it. Not a lot of exciting things planned. Yeah, I think I don't know what the temple's plans are for reopening either. I will have to talk to. I should check about that because yeah, we haven't been to see them there in over a year, I guess. So we should go pay a visit. I think that would be nice. Yeah. Anything else going on? How's it going for everybody with meditation practice? Is anybody doing it regularly? Yeah. Okay. The oldest of you is going into grade what now? Dilika, you're the oldest, right?
I think it's actually over. He's like over like a month or two older than me, but yeah, I think we're both going into grade 11.
Okay, grade 11. All right, so you're coming up on the end of you almost finished high school soon. You got 2 more years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Has anything caught your fancy in terms of like, at this point you start specializing a bit, normally in high school. Is there anything that has really jumped out and appealed to you as something that you want to keep doing more of, maybe do more in university or college or anything like that?
Science and math is pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah, same for me.
Excellent. Okay. Sciences and mathematics. Any particular that you are drawn to yet, or is it too early to say?
It's kind of too early to say for me. I also like drawing a lot. That's caught my attention.
That's great. That's excellent. Yeah. I used to do that more, and I have fallen out of practice with it. But my sister is excellent at drawing, so I will probably. I'm actually planning on having her help me learn again. It's good to exercise both sides of your brain. Of course, the different hemispheres of the brain are responsible for different things, and it's not entirely divided. Like the sciences are on one side and the arts are on the other. But certainly they predominate, like doing certain activities uses one hemisphere over the other. And balancing them both together is very good, is very helpful. Meditation over the long term has some interesting effects on the brain. Specifically, if you do, since you are scientifically inclined, there's an interesting study done a couple of years ago, perhaps, on different sorts of meditation and their impact on the brain. There's let's see, let me see if I can find you a link to an article talking about it.
I think I watched a documentary on meditation recently where they like did an MRI on a monk that was meditating, and they found out that the monk was able to like emit theta waves in his brain like 400% more efficiently than like anyone else who is
control groups
or something like that, because I'm pretty sure those waves only emit like while you're sleeping and only for like a really short time.
This is also why I suspect this is just a hypothesis, but normally many meditators, it's not just monks, because lay people who go and do long-term retreats have the same experience, but the amount of sleep you need decreases significantly. So if you normally we need about 8 hours a night on average. It depends a bit on the person, but not just Buddhist meditators, or not even just monks and lay people in Buddhism, but other religious traditions as well, like Hindu long-term meditators experience the same thing, but it's about 4 hours. They can cut their sleep in half and be quite comfortable with it if they are doing pretty much nothing but meditate, because that, I guess that's that same kind of effect that you get from sleep is what you're getting while you practice meditation. So your brain doesn't need that same kind of refreshing and cleaning out period that it gets during sleep, because it's just doing it during the day all the time. There's also an interesting study on the difference between, where was it? I think this is a little bit of a, yes, here we go. This is the best summary of it in Science Daily journal. It talks about the different kinds of meditative techniques that we see in that are common. On the one hand, they use Theravada meditators, and then they use Tibetan Vajrayana meditators and their practices, and they compare their effects, and they find that they're actually very different. That the effect on the brain is quite different between the two styles of meditation, which suggests that they're like both potentially helpful, but just like they do different things. They found, I think the upshot of it was that Theravada style meditation tends to provoke a kind of relaxing response, that you find it relaxing. That should probably square with our experience, right? But when you do these kind of Vajrayana style meditations, they tend to have a kind of stimulating effect. So it's like it helps you to improve like your memory and your spatial awareness and all these other things. So it has these other kinds of effects that are quite different. So I found that interesting, and that was I think a couple of years ago that this research came out. So that, I don't know, that's a fun factoid that I learned a while ago. Oh yeah, it was 2014, so less recent than I thought. I also, if I remember correctly, yes, the author of our textbook actually showed me one time. He did one of those things where he got some kind of EEG. I think he was hooked up to an EEG while he was practicing mindfulness of breathing, and he showed me the results, because he happened to be staying at my house while after he got this scan done, and he showed me some of the photos. He said, "Okay, so here's me doing the same thing 10 years ago," and then so he had a what do you call it? That's a cross time. There's a word for this in scientific terminology. I forget it, but he had a longitudinal. That's it, longitudinal comparison of his brain doing mindfulness of breathing 10 years ago versus now. And what was really interesting is that you could see actually in the EEG what parts of his brain were changing and growing as a result of continuing this practice. And I think what really jumped out at me was that the right hemisphere near the front was like very prominently stimulated, and when he was doing the practice, and it became even more powerfully like stronger 10 years after 10 years of practice. So he had been like, that seems to be the part of the brain that's really evoked or really strengthened by doing this classic mindfulness of breathing, just paying attention to your breath as it comes in and out of your nose. That's his main practice. And it sort of like seems to stimulate the right hemisphere near the front. So I don't know what that means, but I think it's pretty cool. Maybe it would be interesting to see what other activities do that same, have a similar effect. Maybe there's some other kinds of things that people do. Maybe it's an art or a skill that stimulates that same hemisphere in a similar way. If you ever find out something that does a similar thing, I'd be curious to know what it is. Any other things you want to discuss? Comments or questions or things about the curriculum so far, maybe, or maybe you want to talk a bit meta about it if you had anything that you particularly liked talking about or found interesting or that you didn't like, or maybe ideas for what you might like to do next year, because I probably won't be teaching it, but I can help put in some suggestions and help shape the Dhamma school for next year. So is there anything in particular you liked, didn't like, or would like to do instead, or would you like to have next time? Anything jump out at you? We've been doing, let's see, over the last couple of years, we've talked about, I think, a decent amount about meditation. We've talked about, I think last year we did the Noble Eightfold Path as broken into virtue, concentration, and wisdom. So that covers everything from Buddhist ethics to philosophy and meditation. That's what we covered last year. So that's quite broad. And now we've covered cosmology and the early mythology and things like that. We have done a little bit, especially starting this year, we've done a little bit of meditation every session, short meditation. Now, I don't know who's going to be participating next year, but if it's the same cohort, you are all now starting to get a little bit more mature and you're getting older and you have more practice. Perhaps you would like to put more of an emphasis on the meditation. Is that something you're interested in, or are you happy with the amount that you're doing and you would just like to do more study, or is there anything like that? Well, how do you feel about that balance?
I'm down for an upgrade.
An upgrade, yeah. Okay.
Same for me.
Okay. In that case, maybe, if I'm not doing the Sunday school, my input will be just as advice or suggestions, but perhaps I should suggest that we find somebody to teach it who is fairly experienced with meditation, and perhaps you could spend more time during the lessons actually doing meditation together as a group. Maybe that would be beneficial. You might enjoy it. I hope you would enjoy it. The Buddha taught that meditation should be enjoyable. It's not the Jains in the Pali Canon describes, for example, the Jain position, which is that pleasure is gained through pain, i.e., the pleasure of liberation is achieved by doing painful things now. That's what the Jains believed. And the Buddha taught that no, it's actually by pleasurable things that pleasure is achieved. That is to say, that is through the pleasure of meditation, you achieve the pleasure of liberation. So this view, some people thought that the Buddha was, of course, the more conservative folks thought he was a downright hippie, a wanton hedonist because he taught this. But that is the way that he taught us to approach meditation, that it should be pleasant. So one would hope that when you do the practice, it is enjoyable and pleasant. Is there any time that you find it particularly unpleasant to do meditation? Is there any time you find yourself doing meditation and it becomes unpleasant?
Maybe if I'm doing meditation for a really, really long time and I start to get uncomfortable.
Physical discomfort it's challenging. And you're not your mind isn't independent of your body. The contents of your mind are created by your body. So you have to make sure your body is comfortable and you treat it with respect. You could push it a bit, but not too hard. I find there are two things, because I find the same essentially, that's normally if you're sitting there and you're thinking, I think the problem with thinking is a problem that beginners face in meditation. They find that they are thinking and they want that to not be the case. They want that to stop. But if you even practice a little bit, you realize you don't need to do that because thoughts are not a problem. They're just noises or images or something. But you wouldn't say that I need to stop all the sound in the world in order to achieve enlightenment. So why would you need to stop a sound in your mind or an image or whatever? You don't need to like put out all the pictures in the world, like blot out the world and make it all black or something, just to be peaceful. So with thoughts, I think once you can see through that and just realize, oh, a thought is just a sound or an image or something, then it's not a problem, and you could just leave it alone. And when you leave it alone, they come and go or they don't. It's no big deal. But physical discomfort is a little harder because no matter how advanced you are, you may get physical discomfort. And so you have to know how to deal with that. And I find there's two things that I found help. And the first is to change postures regularly. So if you find that you can only sit for like half an hour before you get uncomfortable, time your sit for half an hour and then walk for like 10 minutes or 15 or something. And then go back and just like make sure it's a regular pace. Don't change just whenever you want. I find that's not as helpful because then as soon as you get a little uncomfortable, you might say, oh, screw it, I give up and I'll do something else. But if you just make it, you set a system, you say, okay, I know this is how far I can take it and that's what my body can do, then just do that and then find a rhythm and make sure that it is a regular rhythm that is suitable for your body. And you may find that the rhythm changes over time and that's okay. So that's one. Find a regular rhythm to change your posture. And the second thing is I find very helpful when you start the meditation, don't just jump into whatever theme you're doing, like your breathing or whatever. Start by, I find it helpful to use breathing as a base for this part, but the very first thing I do is start with a part of your body, one end, like your head or your feet, and then count to some number of breaths, whatever it is, some arbitrary number, 10 or whatever. And then as you're breathing in a relaxed way, not focusing on the breath, focus on that part of your body and like imagine it kind of just relaxing and dissolving and kind of just sinking. And then as you do this kind of like exercise where you imagine and you feel each part of your body kind of sinking and dissolving, you find that your entire body, as you go through, becomes very relaxed and very still. And you find that you can keep a very good posture and that the normal aches and pains don't bother you. And then from that basis, you can turn and do any meditation you want. And then your concentration will be very strong and you'll not be distracted. I find that really helps me. So especially for physical discomfort. I don't know how it works because really you're sitting in the same way for the same time or even longer. And there's not much you're changing about what you're doing. You're just kind of like barely relaxing each part, like trying to make it as relaxed as you can. But I don't notice there's much change. But it's kind of like if you acknowledge each piece of your body first and you're like, yep, that's there. I'm cool with it. Then somehow you don't feel any pain. I don't know why. It just seems to be the case for me. So try it out when you do your next meditation session. You may find that discomfort is physical discomfort is less of a problem. There are some meditation systems that really emphasize that kind of practice, this sweeping your body. There's one sort of Vipassana technique from Myanmar that really makes that the core of the practice. I've not really done it a lot, but it is very popular in some circles to just make that the main thing that you do. And I can see why, because it's very relaxing. Anything else you want to talk about or ask questions about in the last, I guess, couple of minutes?
Mike,
Hmm? I
had a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
It's I remember like I don't know if anyone else agrees with me, but I remember the Singla Pantia we did, like the Singla class. We did like like a year ago. I was wondering if and if you guys had a plan on if you and Hamadu had a plan on doing that again next year. Is
That's a
that
good question. I have not been part of any conversation on that because I don't speak Sinhala. But that's a good question. Bhante, if you're connected now, do you have any idea what the plan might be for a Sinhala class? It seems like the students are interested. Would you say you're all interested in doing that again? Yes, no. Yeah, okay. So it seems like there's some interest among the students in doing more Sinhala.
Oh yeah, I'm back. Let me see. Okay. Here you go.
Hello, Bhante.
Yeah.
Did you hear that the question from Dilaka?
I didn't hear so. What was
Okay. The question is essentially, is there a plan to reinstate the Sinhala classes that we used to
Well,
do?
very good question. Actually, this September,
Yeah.
definitely we have to look at that side too, because you're not going to be able to commit. So definitely we have to add that singular part again with Lata Auntie. This is the plan. So yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So probably let Auntie again.
And we may be having another monk, I guess.
Oh,
Probably.
yeah.
Probably.
I remember there was some discussion of this. Is it confirmed? Do we know who would be coming?
Confirm. So
Great.
he's confirmed. So in case he couldn't come, we could do, yeah. But the problem is the time issue. His time is 2 p.m. is 1, 12, 11:30. 11:30.
Wait.
Yeah. Hopefully he could. Yeah. Yeah, definitely we're gonna do the singular class. Dilek, is there any reason why you raised this question? Just wondering, or?
Oh, I just enjoyed it last like the last year we did it. I really liked it. That's why.
Oh, with Lata Auntie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That time. It was really fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, definitely. Because Lata Auntie was not comfortable, I think not used to the Zoom platform. That was what happened this time. Plus, I want Mike to cover because he picked up this big book, right? So he can do just in 1 hour everything, right? And then do another hour for Lata Auntie. So it was a bit. That was one of the other reasons. So yeah, I hope
I think
things work with this book. So because you could cover the whole amount of time.
Yeah. I think there's in deciding like what we might do for next year in the fall for the senior Buddhism class. I think the students are quite familiar with a lot of the sort of basic like stories and myths. Like we have the Jataka tales, and I think they're all quite familiar with that now. We did a year where we covered Sila Samadhi Panya. So we Dalathan Dalan, they have a hand up. Hi. What's up?
Is today the last class for Dhamma school?
Yeah, there will be an exam in 2 weeks, and that's it for this year. Then you're on summer break.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I don't know what your exam will look like. That will be up to Bhante Chandima and Sela to decide. For the senior students, I have most of a good chunk of the questions already sorted out, and I'll just have to pick a few more.
Yeah, Mike, the other question that I have from many of you said, and how many more years are you just wondering, because you are in the senior class every year, you know what I mean? It's not like 9, 10, 11. So I just don't know how that goes. So are you in the same grade in the school?
Yeah, me and Dilek are the same age. We're both going to go to grade 11 next year and then grade 12.
2 more years too.
Yeah, so I'm hoping I can stay for the rest of high school. I'm not sure about Dileka, but I'm not sure after high school.
Yeah, that means for another 2 years, right? 2 more years. And And Ovini is, I think, a bit younger, right? And she had a problem. She wanted to come to advanced class once, and we could not let her in because of age issue once. But anyways, I let her come in. She said, I don't want to be a part of the junior class.
I think that was good because Ovini, you're clearly interested and curious and passionate enough that it
Yeah,
makes...
this was 3 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. I think
So,
we've been fortunate to have you in the class. I'm glad that you did come in when
yeah.
you did.
So what about Seth? Which grade are you in?
I'm in grade 9 right now, so I'll go into grade
Same
10.
same year like Ovini?
No, I'm a year younger than Ovindu and Nilu.
Mhm. Okay, but definitely that the Dhamma school will be, conducted with this Sinhala component. I had to talk to Lata auntie how things work, and then this new, I hope the new monk, and then we all help the way possible. Yeah. So
I think it's just an idea, and I think that the students would be interested in this. We had a short discussion about this. That perhaps for next year the emphasis could be more on because right now every session we do a short meditation as a group, 10 to 15 minutes, but the students, all of the senior students, are getting a little bit older, more mature, and I think they would enjoy as one option perhaps more of a focus on practicing meditation.
yeah, we can
So
add this
maybe,
meditation part too.
yeah,
Class. Yeah.
perhaps that would be something to consider as especially since they've been through the Jatikas a bunch of times. We've talked about the cosmology.
Yeah.
They have a lot of theoretical background.
So yeah, so because someone else is going to be taking care of this Buddhist component, so definitely we can advise that person about the situation. So
Yeah.
they already did fundamental Buddhist things and also these narratives and all that.
Mhm.
So probably the next thing should be something that they did not study before.
Yeah.
The meditation.
Meditation is an obvious one. I think perhaps Pali, perhaps that might be something as well that
Pali,
they could think of doing if they're interested.
Yeah, that's a good one, but I don't know how many of them,
Oh, yeah, only if you're all interested in this and you want to lean into it more.
Yeah, something we have to talk to that person first.
Of course, yeah, and we would be what they're comfortable teaching and all
Yes,
these things.
yes. Hope we can talk to. Yeah. So did you talk everything to them?
I think so. We got through the whole kind of schedule. We went over the overview. We talked about which topics will be on the exam, and I think I gave them some suggestions about good kinds of things to look out for, what to brush up on and study, so that they'll be ready for it. I think you'll all do very well. I'm not concerned about your success on the exam because it will be open book, and you have the outline of what we have studied, so you know where to look for things. So I think you'll be okay.
So how is the day like June 20th? So we just do the puja and then it's just how do you give the questions to them?
So I think probably we did, let me see here, the number of weeks. Let's see, we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. We did 19 classes, 19 sessions of class. And I expect that for most of those, we'll have 1 or 2 questions maximum. So I imagine between 20 and 30 questions on the exam. They will probably involve looking some stuff up in the book. So perhaps a couple of minutes for each one. So I imagine that would take the first hour block. We do the puja and stuff, and that takes about 20 minutes. And then I think until about 3:10, I think we would give for the exam. So that's roughly similar to our normal half an hour, 40 minutes. I have nothing planned for that. I don't think the exam will take the 2 hours. That would be way too much, and there's not enough material to ask you that many questions anyway. So it will probably be about half an hour, 40 minutes. I think maybe we'll give you 40. And then we have just some open time. I don't know what we would like to do with that. Perhaps we could end early, or I think it's up to you, Bhante.
Yeah, I think, what do you think, Mike? Probably we can, if there are no more questions, comments, feedback, we can wrap up, right? Earlier?
I think that's okay with me.
Yeah.
So perhaps we could finish by 3:15 on the 20th, unless, or maybe 3:20. We could just leave the last few minutes open for any kind of, the normal time we would take our break would just be any quick questions or anything like that. And then we could just wrap up.
And they're gonna be sending to your email, and
copy the temple, send the temple and copy me, or send to me and copy the temple. Both are fine.
Do you think we should CC the temple?
I think it would be good to CC the temple, just in case I misplace it or something. We have 2 copies that way.
Your email might be going somewhere else.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. Who knows? Yeah. Or you might mistype my email or something. So when you finish your exam, just send it to me, CC the temple, and then we should be able to mark it.
Are there any comments from student side? Last day, huh? Today is the last day of our Dhamma school day, and then academic time. So it was a pretty good time, I think. You did a very good job, Mike, for 2 years. 2019, 2020. 2019, what we did?
We did Sila Samadhi Panya, and we did some sutta readings, for that touched on those different topics. Yeah.
And then you taught until February 2020, March. Yeah, physically. Yeah. And then this happened. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I've been really happy to teach all of you. You've been excellent students, and it's been a pleasure.
I wanted to ask students, because these students were there even before I came, the Dhamma school. So I wanted to know that. I don't want to compare, but what are your thoughts about at this point? Because the recent book that you did, I mean, all these what you call Chakavalas, universe, all these things, Petas, Asuras, right? Pretty new to you. With all that, I want to know what you want to say. I mean, if you have anything to say, because next Dhamma school day is just the exam, and then we're gonna wrap up early. Anything to comment on, Ovini or Indu?
Hamandru, I would like to say that this past year has been really incredible. It's really been something different. Usually we're learning about like Buddhist concepts and meditation, but this year it's really unique because we got to learn a lot more about like the fundamental Buddhist universe. And other.
You know what? I should not mention this, but I wanted to say a little bit. When we were trying to, teach this book, especially Mike suggested, and one gentleman was not happy about it.
It's true. I think there was some confusion about what our intention was with the course. I think the idea was that we were going to be teaching that this is the way the universe is. Like that there's a big mountain in the middle of it. And
from a scientific perspective, this is not science, there is no this place. So it was a misunderstanding. But anyways, you could do it in a better way. Not challenging anybody, right? So, but
I think this was, I think it was all right. It's always fun to talk about myths and legends and stories and things. It's exciting. When you get to that stage in your school curriculum, when you get to study Greek mythology, that's kind of fun, right? So I figured we could do something similar, and that's.
And what about the Jataka story? It's the same, right? They were narratives, right? Somebody narrated. So it's a retelling.
Yeah, so stories are a great way to learn. People love to tell each other stories, and it's more entertaining than just reading. I mean, what else could we do? We could read through the Dhamma or something like that. It'd be very dense, and I think for young students that wouldn't be very fun.
And I think we shouldn't take it as being true, but there's something to learn, right, from all these concepts. At least when someone asks, what do you think about the universe? You guys know anything about cosmology in Buddhism? You have something to share with them. I know something, but we don't have this empirical knowledge, but right. So it's good. Yeah. Anyone else? Diraka? Seth?
Yeah, I'd like to add on to what Opie said. It was a wonderful year, We feel privileged to be taught by you, Mike. We really appreciate all your help from you to us, We learned a lot this year, more than I believe any other years. So just thank you very much for teaching, and thank you very much, Amadurne, for organizing everything.
Seth?
Yeah, this year it was like the content that we learned, it was pretty fun to learn. It was very interesting with like all the mythology aspects of it. That was like really fun for me.
Thank you.
I wanted to invite you whenever you are free, and you can consider whenever you are free. I know that it's not that easy for someone like you to commit this Sunday because you're working all these 5 days, and you only have Sunday, and you have a cat, and it's not about the cat. I mean,
I do have a cat. The cat is not as troublesome as a child or something, although I do have a sneaking suspicion that might be in the future sometime soon. But I will still be here. I'm still in the community, and especially since when over the next few months things will probably start to reopen semi-permanently. I hope I'll be able to actually physically come to the temple and see you, and at least occasionally.
Yeah. No, I mean, whenever you are done with your studies, whenever you are free, there's no any force, because these students will like you. I think they already like you. The way you taught and what you shared with. Anyways,
we'll find a good excuse to keep something going. We'll find an excuse.
Yeah. All right. I don't think Delon has anything to say. Did your teacher tell you have an exam on 20th?
She didn't tell us a lot about, but she said she'll talk to you about it.
Okay. She will prepare something. Okay. So we'll do the Chattamanuka Gatha and then happily disperse today. Okay. Okay. Okay, thank you everyone, and I hope that you will be doing the exam very well on June 20th. Are you all vaccinated already? Not
We're
yet.
starting.
Not yet, but soon.
Mike, you said you already got the first dose, right?
I got the first, yeah.
I'm still not old enough.
Eligible?
Yeah, I'm still not old enough. I need to wait a few days until my birthday.
Oh, okay. Okay. When's your birthday?
June 16th.
10 days. Close.
But Aya's getting his in 2 days.
Okay. Okay. Just a matter of few days, huh? Yeah. Anyways.
Very good. No, I hope you're all vaccinated and healthy very soon, and that you can enjoy the summer sunshine and do activities together. I have a feeling that will all be happening soon. So,
Okay. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, everyone. So,
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Sadhu.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Andrew.
Mom.
Thank you,
Thank
Mike.
you.
Thank you, Sadhu.
okay, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye.
And one more thing, please watch the past YouTube videos if you want to know more things, huh? Because they are already there. Ottawa Theravada. I mean, that might be helpful, you know, but not all the classes, I think. But starting from January, I think
I think starting in January we have some review materials on YouTube, so you can use that.
That's a lot. That's a lot comparing to June, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank
Thanks.
you, Amber. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mike. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.